When faced with a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, which is a major problem in America right now, we've got 30 million people who are type 2 diabetic and millions more pre-diabetic. It is really, really a pandemic in the United States and around the world. Traditional medicine says, hey, let's manage it with drugs. Very few doctors are going to confront the patient and say, hey, you know what? This was self-inflicted. This is a lifestyle disease. You can do the hard work and reverse it. I've got an opportunity to talk about a woman who's going to tell her story, exactly what happened to her and how she successfully reversed 2 diabetes. I've got Lynette Edwards here, and I met Lynette just about a couple months ago, was in one of my audiences here in Tennessee, and I wanted to introduce Lynette and just kind of tell her story of how she got in that situation. Go ahead, Lynette.
Okay. As far as how I got in the situation, I have no idea other than to say I love food. I love to cook. It crept up on me little by little over the years where I didn't even notice it was coming. I was eating too much of and too many low nutrition, empty calorie foods, evidently. You know, in our prosperous country, our normal is huge serving sizes, lots of inexpensive, delicious food everywhere. Billboards of juicy hamburgers and golden French fries, and you know, and to get them, you just have to exit now. So it's that's how I got there. It all caught up with me finally. Were there signs of diabetes? I'm not sure, but in hindsight, looking back, there probably were a few. Like I was always hot, and I mean always hot, and my eyesight was kind of blurry. They say that's one of them.
Interesting.
Really thirsty. At my highest weight, I hit 230 pounds, and that's a lot for a 5'4" person. So I had the numbness and tingling in my limbs, especially at night, high blood pressure, all those things. So there were some signs looking back, but at the time I didn't know. I didn't know what even to look for.
Right.
Then in January of 2020, I just went for a regular annual doctor's appointment. And my doctor came in the room holding my blood work in his hand, my workup, and he said, we have a problem. He said, your blood sugar is 350 and your A1C is 12. And I said, oh, is that bad? Because I had no frame of reference for what those numbers meant, no idea whatsoever. He said, well, in all the years you've been coming here, your blood sugar has never been over 100. You are officially a full-blown type 2 diabetic. And, you know, he laid it on the line for me. Well, I kind of went deaf right there in the office. My mind was spinning. In my line of work, I encounter a lot of people with diabetes who have had to have amputations and, you know, they're on insulin and all that. So I was sitting, all I could think of was, I'm going to have amputations. And meanwhile, the doctor's saying things which I couldn't hear, but he's great. And I know now he was probably just rambling to give me a minute to process this information. When I finally was able to refocus on what he was saying, he said, you must cut out sugar from your diet. You've got to, and you've got to figure out the foods that spike your blood sugar and cut those out. And he said it again, you've got to cut out sugars. He said, eat things that are on the low glycemic index scale. And then he said out loud the things that I was thinking. He said, if you don't get your blood sugar under control, you will start losing limbs and then it will kill you. And he really laid it out for me. It scared me to death. So he didn't sugarcoat it. But then he said, you can reverse it. He said that most people don't reverse it because they can't stick to their guns and be successful, but it can be done. And that was really all I needed to hear, was that little bit of hope, and that the opportunity was there for me to do something about it, that there was something I could do, some action I could take. So he gave me this little kit to start testing my blood sugar every morning. And he also started me on a drug called metformin to help lower my blood sugar. Metformin's like the very first line of defense drug for diabetics. It's where you start. So we did that. I walked to my car in the parking lot, just terrified, shaken up, and ready to burst into tears. But from the moment I left that office, I changed my diet, my exercise, and my life drastically. I had to. I went home and started plowing through the research that he gave me. He gave me a stack of research and a list of foods, on the glycemic index. So I really plowed through all that. So really, Chip, my journey did not begin as a weight loss journey. It was about controlling my blood sugar and reversing my type 2 diabetes, honestly.
Right.
So
Well, that's interesting. I mean, the motivating factors for anybody, is to avoid pain or gain pleasure. And you had firsthand experience of the potential pain of the consequences of not doing it. Was there any discussion there about, hey, what this is going to do for you, being able to reverse it long term? Was there any future pleasure there too? I'm just curious. Were you thinking about that?
No, I really wasn't thinking about weight loss or anything, just about saving my life.
Yeah.
It's really, my first motivation was fear.
Right.
So it really was. And, from when I walked out of that office, I didn't put another grain of refined sugar in my mouth for several months.
Wow. So this is another thing that we talked, when you saw me talk, I talked about, I'm kind of an anti-baby steps guy.
Yeah.
I think most people who quit smoking that I've had success with, or chewing tobacco, they quit. They don't do the patch. They don't cut back a little bit. They just quit. So, I mean, you went hardcore right away and made some more radical change. And that probably, tell me about it, led to quicker results, because baby steps lead to slow results, which I think aren't very motivating, but you went boom. Tell me about that.
I really did. And so in controlling my blood sugar, the weight started coming off too. And that was a motivation too. So like I was telling you, at my heaviest, I weighed 230 pounds. The worst picture of my life is of me at my daughter's wedding shower, and where I weighed 230 pounds. And that was just a few months before my diagnosis. So I was around that. That picture is humiliating, but I don't delete it. I think
it's great. You've got that before picture. I mean, it's great to have the after picture now. That's awesome.
I carry it on my phone. I look at it.
You showed it to me. I saw it.
Just to remind myself where I've been, how close I came to being at the point of no return, and to show grace to other people that are going through that same thing.
Right.
And I forced myself to show that picture to people because I want it to be encouraging to them, and I want to be a cautionary tale to whoever I can. But I didn't, like you said, I didn't follow a formal diet or a published diet, but rather I incorporated. What I did was, for my height and activity level, there's a calculation that it takes about 1,500 calories a day to keep me alive, just basically alive, and maintain my current weight. So they call it CICO, calories in, calories out.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I try to eat at a calorie deficit, less than 1,200 calories a day for my body to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
So there are online calculators people can go to and figure out what their deficit has to be. When I started, I weighed substantially more than I do now, obviously. So my base calorie point was higher. I mean, I could eat more calories and still lose weight. Now, when I'm trying to lose weight, I've really got to eat at a serious deficit. So, but, I've just found that you've got to eat less than what you put in your body, basically, to lose it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm a big believer. You can't, it's like you can't outrun a Big Mac. You cannot out exercise a bad diet. It starts there. So tell me about specifically, what did you notice that you had around refined sugar wise? What are the things because it's about starting new habits, but then stopping bad habits. So talk to me a little bit about some of the things you stopped first.
Okay. Well, one of the big ones was, we would eat. My husband and I would probably go to 2 all-you-can-eat buffets a week.
Wow. Okay.
We had a place we went on Fridays for lunch and then on Sundays for lunch every week. And, I don't know if you've experienced it, but some of your listeners probably have, to where you eat so much at a buffet that you come home and all you can do is lay on the couch horizontally and be miserable for a while.
Yeah.
And we just, that had to stop. So it did.
Good.
And COVID, of course, helped us with that. This was 2020, so
Yeah.
everything shut down. So
Timing. Yeah.
that worked in my favor actually there. But for my 1,200 calories, I can get them any way I want them. I can eat those 1,200 calories all in meats and protein and vegetables, or in chips and candy.
Right.
And at least that's what I'm told. I've never tested that theory. But
So what did you notice you had around the house? Was it soda? Was it chips? What was it you thought, hey, this has got to stop?
you know what, Chip, for me, it really wasn't those things because I've never been a big soda drinker, and candy and sweets are not my thing either. I'm
Wow,
more
that's rare
savory.
for type 2 diabetics. Most of them are drinking a lot of soda every day.
Soda.
Okay, it's
Mhm.
excellent. Okay.
It was for me, it's really the other kinds of carbs that turn to sugar in your body. It's a volume thing, I
Okay.
think, so anyway. So because controlling my blood sugar was my first goal, I didn't eat any calories in sugar or refined carbs in the beginning.
Right.
So, and I pay attention to that stuff even now that I'm in maintenance. So obviously I cut out candy and sweets, but I also cut out pasta, rice, bread, starchy potatoes, things like that. But everyone's different. And maybe those kinds of carbs don't spike your blood sugar, but they certainly did mine. And I could
Right.
tell by my blood glucose test that they were. So I cut them out. And it became a game to me. And it still kind of is, with the goal being to choose the most nutritious foods,
Right.
get the most bang for my buck, and the most filling foods with the lowest calories. So I'm really focused on high protein, high fiber, low calorie, and
Right.
now low sodium foods. And I'll tell you something else. I didn't master that right away. I started by focusing on low calorie, low sugar, period.
Right.
And when I got the hang of that, I realized, well, probably I wasn't getting enough protein. So I started focusing on that too. Then I realized I needed more fiber and less sodium. So then I kind of got overwhelmed and freaked out a little bit, thinking it's too much. I can't, it's too many things to take into account. But you calm down, you say, I'm an adult, I can read labels, I've got this. And you start doing even more things to master it.
Well,
Another
like
thing,
what you said about gamifying it, because I think the belief you got to have that keeping score is fun. For example, some people, as they gain weight, they stop getting on the scale. They
Oh,
don't
yeah.
even want to keep score. They don't want to monitor their blood glucose level. So tell me about that as you were testing yourself consistently, as you saw that drop and the motivation factor there.
right. Okay, well, now as far as getting on the scale, I do that every single day. And there's an app. You can use an app on your phone or anywhere to record everything, like your weight, your blood sugar, everything you put in your mouth. And I've tried many of the different apps and
Yeah.
found one I really like.
Yeah. Tell us.
Everybody should, there are quite a few of them out there. So just pick one that's good for you and use it.
What did you like? What was it called?
The one that I'm on now is called Fat Secret. I hate the name of it, but it really works good for me. And I've used it off and on for many, many years. So it had a lot of my history, which was interesting to go back and see how you fluctuated and all that. But those apps will give you a breakdown when you put in your food of how many grams of protein, fiber, carbs, fat, sodium, whatever you want it to tell you, it'll tell you. And it'll help you get a handle on how much you're actually eating. So I start every day by putting into that app what I plan to eat that day. And then through the day, I tweak it as to what I'm actually eating. And it gives me some flexibility. It keeps me really on track. But I record my weight on the app every single morning. And I find it really helpful because that helps me see what foods are stall my weight loss.
Right.
For instance, for me, nuts and cheese and nuts and cheese, dairy really stall me out. And so I have to be really careful with those. And for you, it might be something else, but probably it's nuts and cheese because they're so easy to overeat on. Serving size is so small.
Well, let's give the people the payoff here. So let's tell them how much weight did you lose over what time frame, and then reversing it. Give us the payoff here.
Okay, so my highest was 230 pounds.
Right.
And now I got down to 130. So really about 100 pounds and right at 100 pounds. you know, we had a 17-pound turkey at Thanksgiving. So that's like 5 or 6 turkeys on my body. And if you think about a carton of butter, a pound of butter, there's 100 of those.
Right.
Plastered all over
So
my
over
body.
what time frame was that?
I had lost 80 pounds in 10 months.
80 pounds in 10 months.
So
Okay.
really the 100 was just a little over a year. It sure
Right,
was.
right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so tell us now just about in terms of, because reframing diet, some people go on diet, they never change. I think it's got to be, because what got you into type 2 diabetes was the lifestyle. So
Yeah.
you gave up that lifestyle, adopted a new lifestyle that hopefully should be long-term, because you're measuring. And again, you got to have that belief that keeping score is fun and monitoring. I actually got a new product. I just wanted to track my body fat percentage. You know, I hit 60 and I was thinking, hey, where am I? And there's a scale, it's called Eros, EROS scale. I got it on Amazon. It's probably $50, but you step on it barefoot and it gives you body fat percentage, water. I mean, it gives you like 14 things, and it links with your phone and you can track everything. And I do the same thing. I weigh myself every day.
Yeah.
So tell me about kind of the belief system you have now versus what you did have, because one of the points of my presentation that probably resonated with you is that, you know, long-term success to get switched on is to take care of your number one asset, which is your health and vitality. So tell me your belief around that now versus what it was.
You know, that just, those thoughts had never really been on my radar before this. This was
Yeah.
an aha moment for me in that doctor's office. And I realized I just had to do this. And I'll tell you, my initial diagnosis was in January. So I went back to the doctor in October. It'd been that long, really, since I'd seen him. I don't know. I might have been one other time. But anyway, so at that
Let's
point,
hear about this. Yeah.
80 pounds. And the look on his face alone was worth all the work and effort. It was so great. It was priceless. But that day, my blood sugar was 102, down from 350 in his office before. A1C was 5.5, down from over 12. He wouldn't even tell me exactly how much it was because it was frightening. And he took me completely off the metformin. We'd previously cut it in half. And he said, okay, now you're on your own in keeping your blood sugar in check. And so far I'm doing it, you know, no drugs or anything. And that's been over a year now. So, but when I start approaching, like I told you, I got down to 135. When I start approaching 140, boy, I've got to pull it back in. And I re-examine what I did to get there, because you kind of forget a little bit of what you did. And, you know, I look at that picture again on my phone and get back in my safe zone. So that's basically what I do.
I'm just curious, do you keep any kind of a journal through this, writing down your thoughts? I'm just curious.
You know, I wish I would have. I wrote down a few things here and there, but not consistently. That would have been a really good thing to do. Yeah, I would recommend doing that.
I would approach your doctor should have you in and have all the patients who are pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetes say, hey, let's talk to Lynette and see what she did and get you in front of them. Because I mean, that's one of the reasons I wanted to interview you. People just need to know that, hey, she did it. I can do it. It's possible for me. And again, I did a program several years ago for Eli Lilly, and they brought in pediatricians who were treating kids with type 2 diabetes, kids.
Crazy.
And I said, you know, how many of, because, you know, you saw my talk. I go, how many of your patients walk out of here? Brutal fact, these people gave it to themselves. They can reverse it. They need a plan. They need to monitor it. They need to write it down. They need to believe they can do it. And you're going to track them and coach them to do it. And they're like, zero. I mean, they never tell people, hey, you did this to yourself. You can reverse it. And that's because that's one of the challenges, I think, that people just need to know that, hey, was it easy? God, no, it wasn't easy. No. But you did it.
Right. And like I told you, my initial motivation was fear, the end result. But that fear eventually wanes. You realize.
Hey, tell me about that. Yeah.
The sky is not actually going to fall today. And then you get comfortable again, you know, and you say, well, this bite won't kill me. Well, that one bite won't kill you, but it's a gateway bite. And eventually too many of those bites absolutely will kill you. So, you know, you've got to pay attention, and you've got to pay attention to how good you feel on a day when you've successfully eaten according to your plan,
Right.
whatever your plan is, because you feel so much better.
What about
before
going out
the-
to get a new wardrobe?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. You know, it was a blessing in disguise for me, because I really feel like if I hadn't had that diagnosis, if I hadn't gone to the doctor or whatever, I'd die, I'm sure. So you do have to clean out your clothes. When I lost a few clothes sizes, I went through my closet and took about 40 bags to Habitat and Goodwill. And a little part of me kept saying, but you know, I might gain it back. I might need those clothes eventually, but absolutely not.
Burn the bridge.
Give myself that option. It's like Cortez burning his ships. No option to return. It had to be conquer or die. And make no mistake, reversing type 2 diabetes is a life or death situation. So it's just like that. And, you know, really what people should do maybe is when they hit a milestone, let's say you go under 200 or you go under 180, reward yourself, but not with food.
Right.
Make it something related to your new healthy lifestyle, like a new pair of tennis shoes,
Right.
you know, new pair of leggings, heavier hand weights, whatever. You'll eventually have to replace your entire wardrobe. I make the joke that the only thing that still fits me are my earrings.
Oh, that's a great line. No, that's a good segue, because I honestly believe motion is medicine.
Oh,
Quality of life, long-term quality of movement. I mean, your movement's going to be so much better with not carrying around 5 turkeys, your knees, your back, everything. So tell me how exercise and movement supported you through this.
Absolutely. My husband and I started, we had always walked, but not hardcore. We would walk when it felt good and the temperature was absolutely perfect. But since that diagnosis, I doubt if we could count on one hand the number of times we've missed in the last couple of years.
Right.
And it's not always easy. Sometimes it's freezing cold. Sometimes it's raining here in Tennessee in the summer. Sometimes it's 100 degrees and humid right before dark even.
Yeah.
But you've got to make yourself get out there and do it anyway.
Right.
And that really helps. And it's shown that lowers your blood sugar too, which is the main reason that I did it.
Absolutely. 100%.
Do it. Yeah.
Well, let's just let's finish with this. I really appreciate you taking the time. What let's say you're talking to somebody who's watching this who was in your shoes.
Yeah.
And they maybe just got the diagnosis, or maybe they're pre-diabetic, they haven't gotten the diagnosis. What would you say to yourself back then? What would you say to them now?
You know, it's hard. There's this saying, choose your hard. I'm sure you've
I love it. Yeah.
Being in debt's hard. Being financially disciplined's hard. Choose your harm.
Yeah.
It's hard. So being obese is hard.
Yeah.
And being fit is hard. Just choose your hard. You know, it's going to hit you one way or the other. Have self-control now for the good of your future self. You're not going to lose 100 pounds in a week. Be patient. Stick to it. You know, stick to your plan. You'll have days when you're going to make some bad choices. Just move past that and keep going. You'll have a day or two when you won't work out, but get back in there and lift your weights and go for your walk.
Right.
Weight's going to change throughout the day. Don't let that throw you off. There are going to be things you try that are going to work and some are not going to work. You're going to cry, but buck up, buttercup, and you know, you're going to want to give up. Just don't. You can do this. You absolutely can.
Oh, that's awesome advice, Lynette. Thank you so much for taking the time. If anybody has any questions, you can reach me. Obviously, you've got my email address, probably chip@getswitchedon.com. I'm not going to give out Lynette's private information, but if you have any questions on this, there's a reason I think you're watching this video, and I think everything happens for reason and purpose. So what do you need to do to take action? Is there something you as a viewer are neglecting? And maybe that's yourself. Maybe you're not investing in your number one asset, your health and vitality. You've let some things go. The longer you sit without taking action, the harder it is going to be to reverse. You don't want to get in a situation, and here's good news. If you get in a situation when you're 100 pounds overweight, Lynette proved it. Other people have proved it. There is a path there. You can do it. So anything we can do to support you, just reach out and let us know. Lynette, thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure.